Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 9, Episode 49. I'm Dave Bryan from SteelersDepot.com, joined by my co-host Alex Kozora, also from SteelersDepot.com. Alex, happy Friday, and did you get all your stuff that the Steelers ransacked from your mom's basement back?
Yeah, that story took a weird turn. People got mad about that. People get mad about everything these days, don't they, Dave?
Yeah, they that one got blown out of proportion kind of quickly there, and then had to be reeled back in. And look, I don't know if they had all intentions of maybe taking his stuff, and then maybe they got the blowback, and then okay, we're shipping it off. I don't know. I think they were just kind of having a little bit of fun, if you will, and there were some national guys, I think, who was it? Mike Freeman, Bucky. I think Bucky Brooks was another one. Yep. Just really lighting into them for actions like that, and then I think it all got put back to bed, if you will, on Thursday.
Yeah, it's just, again, media making a mountain out of a molehill. If you understand the Steelers locker room, you understand they just clown on guys. No one's safe. When Martavis Bryant was, had his whole trade rumors last year, people were dunking on him for it. So, that's just that's how this locker room functions, and it's totally fine, and it's all in good fun. It's all good natured, and that's why it's a close team. That when adversity happens, they overcome it because it truly is a tight knit bunch.
All right, one quick note. I know we spent an hour and 30 minutes talking about Le'Veon Bell on the other show on Wednesday. Not going to spend much time on that, other than I get a lot of questions about salary cap credits with Bell and what's going to happen to that money and things related to that nature. Everyone will be glad to know that yesterday, Thursday, on the NFLPA salary cap report, the Steelers got a $5.988 million, $5.988706 to be exact, salary cap credit, and that is for 7 weeks. Another 7 weeks worth of Le'Veon Bell payback for the salary cap or for the franchise tag amount that they had previously been charged. That now gives them almost $18.5 million in cap space for this season. So, and I believe I've got this running chart here that I've been keeping, that I keep daily on the salary cap and all. I believe they have now been fully credited back everything, the entire $14.544 million. If not, then they're just owed one other week. I don't have this all added up right here, but I think they have been credited now the entire $14.544 million from the franchise tag. It would make sense for them to have done so by now, being as how that deadline has passed. For everybody asking, I get asked this probably at least once a day, it seems like, as of late. Yes, the Steelers can, if they so choose. Now, they don't have to, but if they so choose, they can roll over whatever is left over in salary cap money, to 2019. And they are one of those teams that has no problems doing that. Now, of course, there's the whole, if the advantages to not doing that revolve around having to spend cash, the cash to the cash floor up to 89% of the salary cap number. So that's the only real reason as to why sometimes teams have chosen not to roll over the full amount of leftover cap space. It's related to the whole CBA and have to spending up to 89% of cash in, or cap in cash, as they like to say. But you can bet for sure the Steelers are going to be rolling over whatever they have left over, and barring any injuries or any big expenditures happening this point forward, that that total is going to end up around 18 million or so. So I know a lot of other people are asking, well, how do they look in next year? Look, I mean, it's a little bit too early for that still. I like to kind of focus my efforts on that, closer to the end of the season when we got a firmer grasp of what is going to be rolled over, which players are still under contract at that time, and move on from there. But have faith here. It's gonna be okay, salary cap wise next year when it comes to the Steelers. All right, moving on. We'll talk a little bit about the injury report here, and the team, of course, released another one on Thursday. Marcus Gilbert still not practicing with that knee. You have to think that he's not going to go now against the Jaguars. You also had Stephon Tuitt. I'm a little bit surprised by this, Alex. I don't know about you. With that hyperextended elbow, we kind of thought, Mike Tomlin told us that there was a possibility that he would start the week off kind of limited there with a hyperextended elbow. Well, Mike Tomlin really just called it an elbow, to be honest with you. It was Tuitt in a radio interview, I think, Tuesday night on ESPN radio that said it was hyperextended, but even so, he had indicated that he expected to play against the Jaguars. He did not practice on Thursday. It's not looking great for him to play either. Those really are the only two injury concerns because James Conner appears to be out of concussion protocol. He has practiced fully on Wednesday and Thursday, so barring any kind of weird setback there, you would think he's going to play. Let's start first with Marcus Gilbert, who has now, I think, missed more games than he's played in dating back to the start of last season. Obviously, he had the suspension and the hamstring injury last year. He's not doing himself any favors, is he?
No, not at all. And he's going to be 31 next year, too. I don't know if people realize that he's going to be, an alignment obviously can play for longer than, say, a running back, but still he's going to be, now crossing into the 31 range. He's now missed the last month. He hasn't practiced since November 2nd. And it's not like it got announced as this is going to be a multi-week injury. It's not something we really knew in advance, so that's why it's taking us by surprise. Now, the luxury is the Steelers can kind of take that hit because Matt Filer's played well because the other injuries, there really aren't any, so you can just, stash him on the weekly inactive list. But, I wonder if there was a setback or if he had a scope or if there's something else going on that's, the team knows this as a long-term injury and we don't. But, it's unfortunate because Gilbert's a heck of a player, but as they say, the best ability is availability, and that hasn't been the case for the last 2 years.
Yeah, our contributor, of course, Dr. Mel at Girl Surgeon on Twitter threw it out yesterday on Twitter that maybe he had a scope to address a possible meniscus tear or something along those lines, and he's been down that long now that it really makes you wonder if that indeed was the case with him. What do you do when he's ready to play again at this point? I mean, Matt Filer has filled in very admirably at this point. I mean, do you fix what's not broken, I guess is what I'm saying, or is this definitely Marcus Gilbert's spot whenever he gets back?
Yeah, I'd give him the job back. I mean, Filer's done a great job. I don't have really many bad things to say about Matt Filer, but Gilbert, when healthy, is the better player with the longer track record, and he was your starter, so I don't think he's going to get Wally pipped here by Filer. I think Filer gives you tremendous depth, tremendous confidence, but, whenever, assuming at some point Gilbert gets healthy, he's coming back in the starting lineup.
All right, Gilbert will be in the final year of his set to be in the final year of his contract in 2019. And he's scheduled to cost, I think, around $6.6 million against the cap. You got Matt Filer, you got Chuks Okafor right now. I mean, he's going to be one of those guys that's going to be in the crosshairs, right?
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think that, by the offseason, you can have a legitimate discussion about his situation. But again, it's too early to make that call because let's see if he comes back. Let's see, what the injury was and however long it takes him to come back. But yeah, I think that there is a real discussion. And I was talking with a reader the other day, and he said, no doubt the Steelers are going to cut Marcus Gilbert. And I said, let's not go that far. I mean, I don't think it's anything close to a certainty, but I think it is a possibility, and I think it's a valid question. Because he is going to be 31, he is going to be owed a hefty salary, and he just hasn't been playing, whether that's injury or suspension. And I think Mike Munchak has shown that they can find other options to replace him in short term and probably long term. And obviously, like you said, drafted a core four who played some right tackle last week. Fire's done a great job. Gilbert is replaceable, so you go into that with that mindset.
$6.6 million is not a killer cap hit. Especially we just got through talking about how they're going to roll over probably $18 million from this year. But I mean, as we've seen before, they end up usually pinching pennies here and there. When it comes time to whittle things down. So I mean, if he's healthy, if he can return this year, and if he's healthy and can let's say start the final, I don't know. I thought he'd be back by now, to be honest with you. I thought after this kind of mini bye, I really thought he'd be back. But, I mean, let's say he can get back and play in the final, 4 or 5 games and then stay healthy the remainder of the way and play well. He's gonna be tough to cut at a $6.6 million. $6.6 million is right there in that kind of area where you say, maybe we can keep him. Costs versus risk with injury and all. But one thing's for sure, he has had problems staying on the field, pretty much all of his career, right? I mean, you go back even first couple years in the league, I think he had an ankle issue or something that cost him several games. And, I don't think he has many seasons on the books where he's played all 16 games.
Yeah, not many. He was the king of either getting hurt or getting guys hurt by having someone roll into him. He did a great job early in his career, or at least maybe a couple years into his career, of dropping a ton of weight, getting in great shape. When he came to the league, I think he was 330, and he was a very sloppy body kind of guy. And I think he got himself into tremendous shape, a lot more muscle, a lot less fat, because there was a lot of issues with his ankles and knees and a lot of pressure on those joints. So you kind of figured, okay, he's going to drop the weight, he's in good shape, that's not going to be the issue. And now he's back again with some knee and some ankle issues that aren't totally known, but they're there. Now, that can still happen regardless of what weight you are. I understand that, but it is kind of a bummer because you thought him dropping that weight, getting in tremendous shape, which he is, would kind of mitigate those issues. But now they're there. Now he's 31. You have a history of injuries adding up. I don't know about surgeries he's had and scar tissue that builds up, but all things to consider when you go into this offseason.
Here's the thing. Looking back here, 2015 was the last time he played in all 16 games, and then you have to go back to 2013 was the other time that he played in all 16 games. So only twice during his career has he managed to play a full season. And I guess if you go back, 2016 and 2017, that would be 32 games, and they've played 9 so far this year, so that's 41 games dating back to the start of 2016, and he has played in 25.
Yeah, not great.
That's not great at all. Okay, the other guy I want to talk about, Stephon Tuitt. I have a feeling now at this point he's going to miss. Now, wasn't it Mike Hilton back in week? I don't know. It was against the Ravens, I think, that he missed that game with a hyperextended elbow. And did Melanie write about that? She wrote about that on the site, right? So
I think so.
I would think that Tuitt's probably dealing with something similar to that. It would now at this point. I mean, obviously things can change today with the injury report, but with him not practicing on Wednesday and Thursday, that's never usually a good sign. Assuming he sits, that means LT Walton would likely dress again. One minor note that I'm not sure we hit on the other day talking about injuries is Daniel Mccullers, who missed a game against the Panthers with an ankle injury, was not on the injury report this week, so that's a good sign for him returning this week. So I guess you could see both Mccullers and LT Walton dressed this week if Tuitt is down, and that of course would mean Tyson Alualu would likely start opposite Cameron Hayward, and the reason I kind of wanted to attack him last year, Alex, is we haven't talked a lot about Alualu's play so far this season. Where are you on him?
I mean, it's been fine, which is kind of what he was brought in to be, was that rotational guy that could log a decent amount of snaps. I think he's a high effort player. I think his run defense is above average. I think he has, again, good vision, good strength, 1-2, and good effort. His pass rushing is pretty much non-existent. It's not quite as bad as, say, LT Walton, but, I mean, he's a guy that really struggles to disengage. He usually works best off of stunts and scheming, his ability to get free. I only have him charted for one pressure this year, and that came off of a stunt. So he's just a very limited pass rusher, a guy that isn't the best in sub situations where, third down where you want to get a rush. I'd rather have Javon Hargrave there. But, he's doing what he's asked to do, is log those snaps and play at an acceptable level.
I think he has played almost 200 snaps, or at least he will have after this week. Now, as far as his grading goes, if you want to use kind of as a baseline, what Pro Football Focus does, they have him kind of a kind of middle of the road player, I guess. I think, in fact, last time I looked at his score was 68 or right around in there, just in that marginal kind of area. Now his tackling's been fine, I think, and as you stated, not a premier pass rusher by any stretch of the imagination, but I mean he's done exactly what we kind of envisioned how he would be used when he was signed. Now the question becomes, his contract is going to be up after this year. Is he a guy that you fall all over yourself to maybe sign to a deal similar to the one that he just got? Do you try to bring him back on a one-year deal? Do you wait on him? I mean, has he been good enough depth-wise, and you know what you're getting with him, that you go ahead and try to make him a piece of next year's team?
He certainly wouldn't be a priority. I think Ramon Foster for me is first, but I would be open to bringing him back on a one-year deal worth, I don't know, $2.5 million, something like that. I think he's earned that, but I wouldn't make any sort of big money commitment to him or contract commitment to him.
The good thing with him is he did miss a game, and in fact, it ended up being, I think, his first official game missed of his career due to injury earlier this season with the shoulder. Now he had been inactive, I think, a healthy scratch towards the later end of his career against the Jaguars, but I think earlier this season was the first time that he missed due to injury. So he's been a healthy guy, a guy that you can count on dressing week in and week out there. Okay, James Conner, the next guy I want to talk about here, and I did some work on his snap totals and his workload to date. Were you a bit surprised any by those numbers? And for those of you that have not read the article that I did on him, to date, Conner has played 512 snaps, which consists of 80.3% of all snaps played. He has touched the ball, of course, 203 times, and his touch per, I don't know, I would need to come up with a snazzy name for it. Touch per snap, I guess, would be the correct terminology on that. His touch per snap percentage is 39.6. Now, when you compare that to a guy like, and I did, Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley has played in 84.5% of all snaps for the Rams so far this season. His touch per snap percentage is 42. When you look back at the way the Steelers have used James Conner this year and compare it to the way Le'Veon Bell was used last season, it's noticeably different. Now, of course, Conner, you have to take into consideration he was able to, he didn't play the full complement of snaps against Carolina, and probably wasn't even if he had got dinged up there. But all that aside, do you like the way they're using him, and how do you suspect they will use him moving forward?
I'm sure it'll be pretty similar. I think it was Randy Fietner talking yesterday with the media that now we're getting to the point of the year as we start hitting the back half where you start, cycling out Conner and limiting his workload a little bit, both in practice especially, but during games as well, getting some more action for guys like Stephen Ridley and Jalen Samuels. But Connor's still going to be the bell cow. He's still going to be playing, 80-85% of the time. And, I'm surprised, looking back at where I was at the start of the year, that he played this high volume of snaps. But that just comes down to conditioning and trust. And, the thing that Tomlin and teammates have always talked about with James Conner is that he showed up in tremendous shape compared to his rookie year. And he's able to handle that workload and be able to be an every down kind of guy, and that comes directly from conditioning. So they're going to use him as that bell cow. But yes, as you saw against Carolina, even before Connor left the game, even a little bit against Baltimore too, they're going to start working in Ridley, who's a veteran, and Samuels, who's now coming along and has a couple weeks under his belt to get acclimated to the NFL and start putting on some good practice tape.
I tell you, it really is surprising when you look at his yards per touch so far this season. In fact, it is, where is it here? 5.7 yards per touch. And, when you go back and you look at what Le'Veon Bell did through the first 9 games of last season, Connor is averaging 1.5 more yards per touch than Bell did at the same time. Now, in defense of Le'Veon Bell, during those, luckily they only had to play him in 6 of the final 7 games because, of course, the finale against Cleveland, they were able to rest a lot of their starters there. But when you look at how he was used down the stretch, he did log 89% of those snaps, which was just a slight decrease, I think, to the amount that he was used in the first 9 games. And he touched the football 146 times, which was 38.1% of what I guess you'd call touch per snap percentage there, and he amassed 855 total yards and really worked out to 5.86 yards per touch, which was obviously much higher than what he had put on the board there in the first 9 games. So I think that the big test here, Connor is more than matched up with Bell's season last year. The big question now is, will he get can he continue to produce at least at the same level that he's done so far through the season, or even better?
Mm-hmm. Have you been surprised? Well, I probably know the answer to this, but I'm sure you haven't been surprised by the explosive big runs. I think that's a large reason why his numbers, relatively speaking, are better than Bell, because he's produced the 20-plus yard plays that Bell didn't. But I'm sure you're going to probably cite the things he did at Pitt. I know you did that big article on him coming out that showed the explosion that he had.
Yeah, and that's one thing though, is when you look at those things. Yeah, he had a nice history of explosive runs at Pitt, but how many times have we seen that not translate over to the NFL though?
Sure. Sure.
But he did have the whole broken tackle thing, the yards after contact thing with him. So, it was there on tape. Look, I've said this, several times. You look back at where these guys are drafted versus, way they're playing now. It's easy to say after the fact that, well, this guy, how many teams miss on him? And this is a second, third round type back for sure. Why did people have him as a 4th or 5th round back? Look, this isn't an exact science when it comes to these things. We miss on these things. Everybody, NFL teams miss on these things. And also, it goes back to one of the things that Kevin Colbert, has said many times as well too. They don't put the heart through any kind of combine.
Mm-hmm.
This guy is extremely motivated. He looks like a totally different player this year as opposed to when he entered the NFL. And sometimes, it takes these guys entering the NFL, I think, and getting humbled a little bit. Learning what it takes to be an NFL player and how to treat their body and go from there. But who's going to play this guy in the movie is the only question at this point, maybe right now.
Right.
Here, real quick, as we wrap up on him in the Steelers running game, what play direction would you guess they have not had the best success running in so far this season.
Off left tackle?
Actually,
left end, if you want to call it.
well, I mean, left end, they've only had 5 plays off of technically charted as being off left end. And yeah, their NFL ranked 3.4 yards per carry has them 30th ranked in the league. Would you believe up the middle?
Well, I wonder if that just gets mitigated from short yardage stuff, goal line, 3rd and 1, where you're just diving up the middle, if that hurts the number some.
Well, it's obviously not you know what, it would be good. What I probably need to do is a successful play breakdown.
Yeah. But if it is relative, then every team's dealing with that, I guess.
Right. And it has the NFL ranks here as well, too. 55 plays run up the middle, and that's that 55 number is a 23rd ranked in the league. Average gain is 2.27 yards for an NFL rank of 31st in the league. It just seems like, now I'm assuming they're considering when they're, and I've tried to go back play by play versus the tape before just to double check them to see if they're consistent on some of these things. You know, these plays should be on runs between the guards.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's something to do with the red zone offense. They've had so many red zone trips. I think the other thing with the red zone offense, not to derail this, I'll circle it back, I promise, but not only have they had great red zone efficiency, but they've also had great red zone volume. I don't know the exact number of drives they've had down inside the 20, but I know it's a lot. And so you run the football more down there. The Steelers have run it more this year than last year in the red zone, and that probably brings that number down as well. So I wonder if there's just some, with smaller sample sizes, some stuff that skews the data a little bit.
Yeah, I'll have to, like I said, we'll see after this game. I might do one of those successful play reports. Okay, one other thing I wanted to get to was the average yards per play. Where's my study on that here? Some of my stat study, imagine this, some people just don't like math. Some of them I'll do on the adjusted net yards per passing attempt, and I'll get some good responses on. Some of them not. This one, and you working on a site, you can attest to this. Sometimes you think you've written the perfect post and it gets like two comments, and then sometimes you write something that you think, man, I could have written that better. It ends up with 140 comments on it. You just never know with sometimes how these things go.
Were you a big math guy growing up in high school, or I know your schooling life is an interesting one, but were you a math guy?
Alex, I was fine in math, and I made my parents quite proud up until probably I was in 6th grade, 7th grade. I mean, I knew my you probably don't even know what times table cards are. Did you ever do
no, a little bit, yeah, early on.
Times table cards and things like that. I mean, I knew my times tables. I knew I was good with math, very good at figuring things in my head, stuff like that. And then I say through grade school. Now you got to remember, I went to a private school. I went to nuns and rulers and all like that. Where they not afraid to beat the snot out of you. I was fine through that, and then I got into high school, and of course weed came along, and then then they started putting letters.
All right.
With
your algebra
with the numbers, and I checked out then. I mean,
no letters here though. No letters with a successful play rate stat.
Right. No letters without other than players' names and stuff like that. But what about you? I mean, were you ever a big math guy? I mean, you don't come off as a statistics guy.
I like stats. I took a stats class my senior year of high school, but I was always better with English, and I'm a communications major, so I'm good with the basic math. But there was a point where I took a physics class, and it was bad because of all the math. So English for sure was my route.
And back I used to win quite a few spelling bees, you wouldn't know it now, would you? You probably see some of them post drafts.
I see some of your drafts. They look like hieroglyphics.
They probably look like They probably look like that stuff that you're charting when you're out at training camp out there. Right. Some of the symbols that you put on. Here's the thing too that people need to understand. I don't type. I never have been able to type. And you would think being able to play the guitar and be able to, and the bass and be able to use your fingers like that somehow, I would have learned to type and all this, and I never have. In fact, it's gotten so bad, Alex, that I have one of these handicap keyboards with the giant.
Oh wow!
It looks like a play school.
My first keyboard.
My first keyboard. I mean, because I type so bad, and when I'm downstairs on the computer down there, and with that smaller keyboard, you want to talk about. If you really look at it sometimes in draft and thinking what the hell's going on, that I'm drunk or whatnot, it's because that's when I'm downstairs on that normal keyboard there with my fat fingers. Because I know where all the keys are and I hunt and peck just fine, but sometimes my fingers on those smaller buttons just don't work out too well. But all right, back to the average yards per play, and this all came out of Adam Schefter putting up a tweet yesterday talking about since the 1970 merger, how prolific the this year's Chiefs, Rams, and Chargers offense are on yards per play. So I immediately, the first thing that goes through my head is where are the Steelers this year, and how good is that from a historical perspective? And I think people would like to know that the Steelers so far this season average yards per play is 6.27, and according to the NFL stats rankings, that ties them with the New Orleans Saints for 6th overall. Now, from a historical perspective, according to Pro Football Reference, with aggregating some of that stuff, it's the best posted by a Steelers franchise by a Steelers team through 9 games played, dating back to 1970. In fact, only 3 other teams. 2015 Steelers, 14 Steelers, and 2011 Steelers has an offense had a per play average greater than 6 yards, dating all the way back to through 1970 through 9 games played. Now I think that automatically got me thinking about, okay, well, what about the defense? Where's the defense at right now in average yards per play? The defense enters Week 11. Having allowed a per-play average of 5.21 yards, and it's currently, believe it or not, is 5th best in the NFL. Historically speaking, though, that 5.21 per-play average isn't great when it comes to Steelers franchise, and I have a link to all that. I mean, and in fact, that number pales in comparison. Remember, through halfway through the 2017 season, Alex, remember the Steelers' defense wasn't bad.
They didn't get big plays. That was the big thing. Nothing over the top.
Right. Now, they did obviously. Now, they had already played the Jaguars at that point. They gave up that 90-something yard run to Fournette in that game. They obviously gave up, seems like the game against the Ravens earlier in the year. They gave up some chunk plays, a few on the ground. But they had been not bad when it came to passing explosive plays up until around this point of the season when they got into the games against like the Titans, the Colts, Detroit, the Packers. I mean, we could go on and on.
So just name the back half of the schedule every week.
Right. I mean, and not just that. And as we've said on this show several times, it wasn't just the explosive plays of 20 yards or more. It was the 40s, the 60s, the 70s, and then not only that, they ended up in the end zone. I mean, it's one thing to give up a 28-yard play, but at least leave yourself some grass to defend, and a lot of times they didn't do that. So, I think that's just that 4.49 yards per play, or what was it? What did I say? Well, 4.8 number last year at this time, not bad at all when you look back. And now the question is with these big games coming up against the Chargers, the Saints and obviously the Patriots is how good can that number stay. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't tell everybody that, remind everybody that the week 2 game against the Chiefs was the one that they allowed 8.3 yards per play, and that, of course, is still going to skew some of these numbers. But since week 2, the defensive unit has allowed 5.09 yards per play and just 4.49 yards per play in their last 5 games. But once again, the argument I think most of our listeners would have would be, well, look who they played. Another thing, and I wrote about this too, if people care to go read it, is looking at the differentials in yards per play. I think that's a stat that probably doesn't get enough run. And during the offseason, I'm going to look maybe a little bit harder into differentials from, say, the midpoint season on to see if I can, what kind of how it tells future as far as that stat goes. But I will tell you this. When you look at the per play average differentials around the league through the first 10 weeks of the regular season, the Steelers' 1.06 number, and keep in mind that this is yards per play for offense, yards per play for defense, and then you find a difference. Their positive number of 1.06 is second only to the Chargers at 1.28 right now. And I found that a bit surprising. So if you ever wanted a reason to kind of even get a little bit more excited about the Steelers game a couple of weeks from now, which, by the way, has now been flexed to Sunday night. Hopefully everybody got that news. The Steelers versus the Los Angeles Chargers in Pittsburgh should be a hell of a game.
Yeah, that's definitely the like I said, the back half of the schedule is insane. You have LA, you have New England week 15, then New Orleans week 16, Cincy week 17, which a game might have implications one way or the other. It's going to be a crazy back half of the schedule. Dave, you want to talk about some Jacksonville Jaguars now? That game?
Yeah, and you've already got a couple of the scouting reports you did with the guys up on. So why don't we first? Didn't you want to talk about what Keith Butler had to say first and kind of recap that, because I think that'll be a good starting point to talk about the Jaguars and Blake Bortles.
Yeah, he just had some interesting comments about the run game. He acknowledged that the run game has been better this year, which it has. Yards per carry's down from 4.4 last year, which was like 27th, to 4.1 this year. But, he did say that, and this is true, that teams just aren't running the football as much against them because the Steelers have been in the lead and teams have had to come from behind. And he was talking about last year that he thought in large chunks that they did well against Jacksonville, especially in that first meeting. He said in the media scrum yesterday, quote, "We held them until they got that 90-yard run, then it blew up the stats, but they did get that 90-yard run. They ran the ball when they had to. They did a good job of controlling the football. They did a good job not getting behind the chains. So as a consequence, they didn't get makeable third downs. That's part of the reason why they were successful against us last year, and we have to see if we can win first and second down." So, that's obvious for any single game. You want to put teams in third and long, but especially a Jacksonville team that has an identity when they can establish that strong physical run game. They're getting Leonard Fournette back. I know that offensive line is beat up, but they're going to be a power team, a man-blocking scheme largely, and Steelers just have to be more physical at the point of attack this year.
And I think what did our buddy Daniel put on Twitter this morning that I retweeted here? The Steelers are going to have to do a better job of containing Bortles. How many times have we seen him escape the pocket? Now, he's obviously not as elusive as. Here's a good thing, I guess, is they prepared for Cam Newton.
Yeah.
They're coming off of a week from a game in which they had to prepare for Cam Newton and all the stuff that he does. So at least that's still kind of fresh with them having come off that game. Blake Bortles is not Cam Newton, but he has shown that he can escape and make some plays with his leg. And Daniel put on Twitter about 20 hours ago, Steelers are going to have to do a better job of containing Bortles as a runner this time around. Bortles has 42 rushing attempts this season, and 21 of them have resulted in first downs. Now, I think you go back to that the Week 5 game last season against the Jaguars. I remember there was 1 3rd and 9, I think there was, where the Steelers didn't get off the field because Bortles used his feet. correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't there at least a couple of times in the playoff game that they let him get loose?
Yeah, in that first matchup, that was the only carry he had. There was pressure on that play, and Bortles was able to scramble and just get the first down. In the playoff game, he ran the ball 5 times for 35 yards. I forget the circumstances. I think most of that was just scramble, extend the play kind of stuff. Yeah, he's a guy that, if you play man coverage against him, he's going to run. That's kind of almost the given for him because he is struggling to throw the football, to struggle to get that football in the tight window. So he's going to take off almost immediately if he sees man coverage. And the Steelers like to play 2-man on 3rd and long. So if you want to do that, it can work, but you're probably going to need some sort of spy, maybe LJ Ford on Bortles because he will beat you with his legs.
All right, running the football wise this year for them hasn't been great. They obviously, with Fournette down at the start of the season or most of the start of the season with a hamstring injury, and then they went out and got Carlos Hyde, and they really didn't even use him. I don't think they've used him too terribly much since he arrived. Yeldon, they used Yeldon, I think, and you're probably going to talk about this in the preview here. They use him quite a bit as a pass catcher out of backfield, but that's something that Fournette can do too, is catch the ball out of backfield. Now Fournette's first game back was last week against the Colts. We've talked a little bit about that. So at this point, where do you want to start? By breaking down their offense and what they like to do? I mean, they still kind of have the same identity what we saw last year in the 2 games.
Yeah, let's start with the offense. Like you said, that identity is pretty clear. It hasn't been as successful, and that's why their record is 3-6, because they haven't been able to establish the run game because it hasn't been effective. The defense hasn't played quite as well. They're not getting the big turnovers and splash plays, but they're going to be a multiple backfield with a fullback in Tommy Bohannon, multiple tight end kind of team that's going to keep the Steelers in a lot of base in all likelihood, like they did against Carolina last week. So you're going to have to come out and play your base defense, be physical, win the point of attack. Jaguars don't do a lot of stuff fancy in the run game. It's just a lot of man, a lot of lead strong, running behind the fullback or running behind the tight end, a little bit of split zone. But that's where it starts. It's just, again, putting Jacksonville in 3rd and long, making Blake Bortles have to win the game with his arm. And then I personally would probably play more of a zone coverage on 3rd down rather than a man coverage, get vision on the football, make Bortles have to make those throws, and capitalize on the mistakes that he's going to get. And you hope to get some pressure as well, which is going to create the chaos, increase the mistakes, and increase your ability to create turnovers.
When he's patient, I mean, obviously he's better against zone than he is man. I think I saw a stat last night. I can't find it in a hurry about how he is, how big his regression is versus man versus zone. Yeah, you got to mix it up a little bit on him, obviously. And the big thing, of course, is going to be pressure. I mean, you just can't. You got to keep him out of the more manageable. If you get him behind the chains, he's done.
Yeah, but I mean that's true for a lot of quarterbacks.
Right. But I mean him more than anyone. And look, I mean the thing when you and we're not going to spend a lot of time looking at their injury report, but their offensive line right now, and I know we said this probably ahead of the Week 5 game last year. You got Shatley starting at center now. Now both their guards are not bad. Norwell and Can. I think that's the same duo from last year, right?
No, Norwell's new from Carolina this year.
You're right. Norwell's new. They had Omana was their guard last year, and he's a backup now. Parnell is the other one.
He's good. He's really good.
Right, at right tackle. That's what I was thinking about on that right side of the line. But here's where the question becomes: Shatley at center, and he didn't look too great when he replaced their starting center. Linder when he came in that game the other day against the Colts. Walker has not practiced. Josh Walker has not practiced. I don't think the first two days for them. We'll see what happens on Friday with him. And Flowers, I think, has been limited. So, I mean, we could see a full game of Eric Flowers at left tackle. And I know I think you put something on Twitter on Bud Dupree yesterday or the day before or something, said, look, as nice of a run that Dupree has had, look at the guys he's gone up against.
Yeah, I got yelled at constantly for that, and I wasn't trying to say that Dupree's done a terrible job or to take anything away from him, but yeah, I mean, he faced over this
Well,
month span.
context matters.
Yeah, that's what I was just trying to show, and really to answer the question of how much better has Dupree gotten. Has he truly gotten better? Has he truly turned the corner, or is it in part due to the competition he's faced? And he's faced Desmond Harrison, an undrafted rookie who looks like the worst tackle in football, got benched after that game. Alualu from Baltimore, who made his first career starter left tackle. Chris Clark, who got signed in training camp for Carolina, was the backup after Mccullers went down. And then he's going to be facing either Walker, their third-string left tackle, or Flowers, their fourth-string left tackle. So, I mean, I'm just saying that's like a dream for a pass rusher to have those kind of matchups over the course of a month, and that should be context into evaluating his play and asking the question of how much better he's really gotten.
All right, what scares you the most about this Jaguars offense? Just their ability to run, to power run?
Yeah, just their ability that when they have their game plan and they know what team they are, they know their identity, and if they can execute that, and obviously that's been a big concern, but if they can control the football, they can get themselves in the third and manageable, and they can wear you down. And so by the time that fourth quarter comes, and if this game's close, the edge is generally going to go to them because they've been hitting you with power runs and their big duo blocks up front for the entire game, and they're going to finish you off. So that's my big concern. Bortles winning with his legs, and just some of those situations. Now I think the Steelers quarterback containment has been a lot better from where it was early in the season. But yeah, the question is, do you play man? Do you play zone? I found the stat because I saw the same stat that you saw in Bortles. Basically, against man coverage, he's got a negative expected drop back value. And against zone, he's positive. So he does struggle more against man, but he is running against man. And so when you play two-man or cover one on third down, he's going to, if it's 3rd and 5, he can probably, be able to scramble for that and pick up the first down. So you just have to have a plan in place to account for his legs and his mobility if you're going to play man coverage. So you could play with the spy, you could play that cover one rob or lurk where you have somebody coming down and in the zone coverage and washing the eyes of the quarterback. That's fine. You just have to have that plan in place to account for his legs if you're going to play man coverage.
Did you see me remind everybody the stats that Bortles put up in that Week 5 game last season?
I didn't, but I didn't want to see it.
Yeah, what was it real quick here? Let me pull those up. 8 of 14 for 95 yards, no touchdowns, and interception for a quarterback rating of 48.2. And 30 points on the scoreboard. I mean, it just goes to show you how bad turnovers can kill you. I mean, and it's also probably a lot of people probably don't remember the Steelers led that game 9-7 with about 9 minutes left in the third quarter.
Yep. The pick sixes. You give defense points. Two of those.
All right, now let's flip over. That Jaguars defense is still not. I mean, they have given up some touchdowns this year. They're not getting the splash plays, the sacks, and the interceptions they were getting. But this still has a large makeup of the Jaguars defense from last year, and they might get A.J. Bouye back for this game. It looks like he practiced fully with a calf injury on Thursday, so they're going to have him back. Their defensive line, I think you pointed this out. I'm going to let you kind of run with this from here, but they do a great job of getting those arms up. Calais Campbell's long enough as it is, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, he gets even longer when he gets those arms up. So while they're not winning maybe in the sack column, they're able to win other ways at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I still see that defensive line as a threat, even if the sack totals are down, and they are way down. They have 19 sacks this year. That's 27th in the NFL after finishing second last year. But they're a unique bunch. They're an athletic group. Like you said, the length they have, the vision on the football they get, they can be disruptive at the line of scrimmage in terms of getting their hands in the way of throwing lanes, batting passes down, making it tough on the vision of the quarterback. And in the run game, they're an aggressive, slanting defense. And It's tough to run a lot of power because it guards pull, it creates a gap. The defensive line shoots it. It's hard to run on the perimeter because of all the speed and athleticism they have along the defensive line, and especially a linebacker with Dalvin Smith and Miles Jack. So I think you have to go with kind of a Jacksonville style run game where it's a lot of man blocking scheme. It's a lot of, you can go a little bit heavier against this group, go with a fullback. I'm okay with that. I think you have to keep it between the tackles because I think if you try to get the ball in the perimeter too often, I think it's going to be a tough challenge, and that's what happened last year when Todd Haley's calling tosses on 4th and 1, and you're just not going to outrun this defense to the corner. It's just not going to happen.
Well, then it goes back, too, about me talking about runs up the middle. I mean, they're going to have to try to stay patient. In other words, what you're saying is you're not going to run a lot of pin and pulls.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm keeping the ball between the tackles. Even power can be tough. I mean, I know that's the bread and butter, and it can work, but if that guard, pulls and you got to get down there and wash that guy down or reach block a defensive tackle, and they're not going to line up head up on you. They're going to line up in the gap, between center and guard or tackle, and they're going to shoot those gaps and try to blow those plays up.
All right, that's how much success do you expect them to have on the ground against them?
I think it could be limited because this Jacksonville defense is still good. Don't let all the numbers fool you. They're still top 10, and they're all just outside the top 10, I think, in yards per carry allowed. With a lot of the passing numbers, they're top 10 on and points per game. I mean, it's still a good group. They're just not creating that splash. That's the big difference. Is that the turnover ratio went from plus 10 last year to negative 11 this year. So that's been the biggest issue. But it's still a tough front to try to run on it, and that's going to be an issue.
All right, attacking them with the passing game.
Again, that's also going to be a bit of an issue because that secondary, I think, is still really talented, and it's a lot of the same faces. Like you said, getting Boye back is going to be critical for them. You have Jalen Ramsey, of course. Barry Church is a solid, strong safety, and Tayshaun Gibson's a good free safety this team has seen forever in both Cleveland and Jacksonville. So I think you have to have some route combinations that can be dependent on each other, so it's not just three verticals and you're just trying to win your matchup because the talent is so strong. When they seem to play a lot of cover 3 against 2x2 sets, so 2 receivers to one side, 2 receivers to the other, and in those situations, I'm looking to flood their zones. So those over routes the Steelers like to run, especially with Juju, has been effective against Jacksonville from other teams, Indy and Philadelphia. So I'm looking to kind of attack them with flooding their zone coverage, winning with some over routes across the middle, and trying to win that way.
And when they come down and they play some man with say some one deep, then I think you could see them win with some rubs.
Yeah, you can. If they're playing man coverage, the Steelers like to run mesh, so that can be successful. They play a lot of man coverage against empty, so if you want to go empty, you're probably going to see either quarters or man, but more often man coverage. So you can definitely throw some man beaters in there as well.
And I think a lot of people, look, Jalen Ramsey is a damn good cornerback, as is Bouye. I mean, let me ask you this real quick: are they still the best corner tandem in the league right now?
That's probably difficult for me because I don't watch every corner tandem, but they're up there. They're talented as any.
Don't forget that the Steelers are outside. Other than just like talking about NASCAR, we were running fine until the engine blew up. Yeah. This is a Steelers offense that attacked that secondary very well, even in both games. Now, Ben obviously threw the interceptions in the first one, but make no mistake about it, Ramsey is beatable by AB.
Yeah, but when they went after targeted AB last year, it was against Boye. That was the dude AB did damage on. It wasn't Ramsey.
Right, but Ramsey did give up some catches in the total of both those games.
Yeah, but not the big plays, not the touchdowns.
All right, so what you're saying is, I'm trying to remember how much traveling they do. It don't seem like they do. It seems like Ramsey stays on his side, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think they could do a little bit. I think they're capable of that. Obviously, I'm curious if you get AB in the slot, what do? Do they keep the nickel corner DJ Hayden on AB, or do they travel? I think in those situations they will start moving their guys around.
All right, what scares you the most about this Jaguars defense then?
Just that it's still playing at a high level. They're just not creating that splash. And so if you get a game where they're getting a little bit of pressure, that's going to create the chaos. And they're just a really talented group, and they have speed everywhere. That linebacking core, Dave, Telvin Smith and Miles Jack, those guys. Miles Jack hasn't missed a single snap this season, and Telvin Smith has played 99% of the time. Those are elite linebackers that are the new age type guys that can run and cover and play sideline to sideline. And then those guys just create a ton of chaos, and that's probably my biggest concern. That linebacking group is so good, they can hurt you in a million different ways.
All right, anything to add on special teams with them?
Yeah, two quick thoughts. Josh Lambo, their kicker, has a great leg. I think he's 4 or 5 this year from 50 plus. So Jacksonville's been able to kind of eke out a couple more points than expected because they can hit from 50 to 55. I think Josh had broken it down. They ran a fake field goal. I forget what game it was, but at one point this year they did run a fake field goal. I think that was successful. So they'll pull out some stops there as well. And just to go back to the offense real quick, I wanted to hit on their wide receivers because I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about them. They're not super threats, but this might be the fastest trio of wide receivers of any team in the NFL. DJ Chark, the rookie, ran a 4.34. D.D. Westbrook ran a 4.39 last year. And Dante Moncrief ran a 4.4 flat a couple years ago. So those are 3 guys with 4.4 or less speed that you have to deal with. And they haven't hit a lot of big plays over the top, but they're capable of that. And that's, they can get chunk plays, and that's how you win. It's an offense that's struggling.
You and I both like DJ Chark coming out, but the thing was his inexperience. Really only had, I think, the one season at LSU, right?
Yeah, I think, and they don't throw the football a lot down there, so his receptions were limited.
So it's going to be interesting. And he's kind of the opposite of a guy like James Washington, who played for 4 years. Put up numbers all 4 years, whereas Chark had only put up the numbers the one season there. I think they're still ways away of trying to get him heavily integrated in the offense right now. All right, what else you got for us before we get into making our picks and all?
I'm gonna stall because we're gonna make our picks. That's always gonna be interesting.
Did you watch the game last night? How much of it?
I didn't. I was flipping through at the end there. But it was I'm just happy to have a nice competitive game with 2 solid teams after some of the crap we've gotten for the last month.
Both those quarterbacks really can sling it there, and I just knew. Well, you and I both had the Packers +3 in that one, and that ended up pushing with the Seahawks winning, I think 27-24 there. Before we get into our picks, sure, watching football is fun, but it's more entertaining when you have some action on the games, guys and girls. You've heard me talking about this for weeks, and some of you are still on the sidelines. Whether you're an expert or rookie, you should be betting at MyBookie. If you're the kind of guy or girl that likes to bet a little and win a lot, like playing the numbers on the roulette table, or on the roulette wheel, I should say, you can create a big parlay. Pick 3 teams to win, and if you hit all 3, you can turn $100 into $600. I plan on playing a couple of 3-teamers myself this weekend. There's so much to bet on. College basketball, college football, NBA, NHL, custom props, even esports. You name it, MyBookie has it. MyBookie is the one bet I know you'll be happy with all year. I recommend these guys because I really trust them, because I use them. MyBookie has been in business for years. They've got great online reviews, and their mobile site is easy to use as well. Sign up this week, and MyBookie will give you a 50% bonus to jumpstart your bankroll. It's a great way to bank even more money when you win. Also, make sure to follow MyBookie on Twitter at BetMyBookie. They personally respond to every mention in DM, not to mention that they've given away more than $10,000 in free money to their followers this football season. You'll be the first to know as soon as new odds and props are posted by following them on Twitter at BetMyBookie. Don't miss out on one of the best weeks to bet on sports this year. Log on to mybookie.ag right now and use our promo code TERRIBLE. That's terrible. Like the way I read these ads sometimes, and to get 50% deposit bonus. That's promo code TERRIBLE. You play, you win, you get paid at mybookie.ag. All right, with that, you and I enter the weekend both 0-1 against a man. Let's start with the Detroit Lions. hosting the Carolina Panthers. The Lions are home dogs, meaning that they're getting 5 points at home.
You pick. I got to mull it over here, Dave.
All right. Lions having the Panthers at home. You still got Matthew Stafford in play, but you do have the Panthers, like the Steelers, coming off of a little bit longer week there. I think the Panthers defense will get back in form. I think they'll be able to do a lot of the things. Look, we know how good that we just studied it, but we know how good that offense can be if they're able to do the things that they want to do. So. It's a little bit of a big number for a road team here, but I'll take the Panthers laying the 5.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the Panthers are going to be. You see that? You saw those clips of Thomas Davis and Mike Tomlin after the game. How cool was that?
Let me tell you, that what do they call it?
Mic'd up.
Mic'd up. Yeah. That was one of the better Steelers mic'd up segments we've seen in quite a while, I think. I'm still waiting for the Marquise Pouncey unfiltered. I would probably pay at least $100 to have a 10-minute cut up of Marquise Pouncey unfiltered, mic'd up during a game. But this was to have Ben and Mike Tomlin mic'd up for that game. One of the best parts of that is when right after Ben almost got decapitated by Reed, he goes over to the sideline, and I think Thomas says, "You all right?" He says, "Yeah, I'm fine." And then Ben takes a swig of water. He says, "I should have scored there." And Mike Thomas says, "Yeah, you're tripping. Nice run." Something like that. I think that's a great exchange. I think the exchange at the end with Thomas Davis and Mike Tomlin's also. I could watch that kind of stuff. And I know I'm going off the rails here real quick, but you and I talked about this right before we got on. Peyton Manning does this. What do they call these things?
The
detail episodes on ESPN. You have to be an insider guy, but they do have little small cut-ups on Twitter, and they had one I think on the ESPN account or ESPN NFL account this morning here of Peyton Manning doing tape breakdowns, and these things are fantastic. I just came across them. So I want to give a shout out about that. But you and I both love these detailed kind of tape breakdowns, and I really love those mic'd up things. All right, back to Panthers and Lions.
Yeah, give me the Panthers. Like you said, Thomas Davis after the game was telling Tomlin, for people who didn't see, you humbled us. We needed to be humbled. I think he'll take that. The Panthers are a much better team than what they showed against the Steelers. So I think they win. I think they win big over Detroit.
All right, an interesting game. Two teams fighting for playoff lives right now. Dallas Cowboys at the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons are at home right now, -3.5 according to my bookie.
Yeah, give me the Falcons on this one. I'm surprised it's that close of a line, but I know Dallas played well, but Dallas is just so hard to trust, and I don't see them having that success they had against Philadelphia.
I'm a big Matty Ice fan at home. A lot of times, he's cost me some money, but I just can't get away from him at home. I think Ridley could have a big game in this one as too. Give me the Falcons -3.5 at home. Another interesting game: Vikings at Bears. With that division, the Bears are at home, favored by 2.5.
No, give me the Vikings outright on this. The Vikings, their third down defense is just insanely good. I think they're allowing teams to convert 25.9% of the time this year. It's the second best ever, only to the Vikings of last year. They're great situational football. I'm going Vikings outright on this one.
I'll be on the other side of the fence on you on this one. I like the Bears at home, laying the 2.5. Eagles at the Saints. This should be a fun game to watch here. The line is huge in this one. Saints at home, favored by 10 over the Eagles.
Yeah, it's tough. That Eagles secondary is so beat up there. I don't know who they're going to have. They lost Ronald Darby for the year. They got Sullivan out there playing corner. I think the Saints are going to win by like 14. So yeah, give me the Saints.
Wow, that's Saints defense isn't great though. I think the Saints can win this, but I think the Eagles at least keep it within the number. So give me the Eagles plus the 10 points here. Divisional battle, division battle. Titans at the Colts. The Colts are at home. Tennessee coming off that big win over New England. The Colts are laying a point.
So basically a toss-up, I guess.
Right.
Huh? Give me Indy on this one. Indy's done a great job. That offensive line has really transformed itself. Quentin Nelson has been
that guy is what his tape says he was.
Mm-hmm. Now that scream was fake, for the record. I don't mean to burst the bubble here of anyone listening, but he's still. I saw another video of him being mic'd up, and a lot of fun to watch. I know the Titans have played well. I just don't trust them to consistently move the football through the air. I think Luck's back on track. Defense is better. Offensive line's great. So give me Indy on this one.
Yeah, I see a little bit of a letdown game coming for the Titans as well, too. So give me the Colts to cover that one at home. Houston, fresh off their bye. This ought to be a pretty decent game as well, too, against the Redskins team that kind of up and down at times this year. Believe it or not, the Texans are road favorites, 3.5 points.
Yeah, and I'll take Houston on this one. I know Washington has done well. Credit to them. I think that Washington run defense and that defensive line is super underrated, but that offensive line is really hurting. They got away with it last week, but against J.J. Watt and Clowney, not going to happen again. So give me Houston to win by a touchdown.
Because this one's on the road, and I think, what's weather like up there right now?
It's snowing here. We got our first snow of the year up in Pittsburgh. I'm not sure what it's like in D.C.
I think because this is on the road, look, I mean, you got to give Texas a little bit of edge coming off the bye as well, too, have a little bit of extra time there. That said, I think Washington can keep this close. I think Texans can win this outright, but I think 3.5, I think I'm going to be thankful for that extra half point. So give me Washington plus the 3.5 at home. Tampa Bay at the Giants. The G-men got off the snide the other day. Beckham's already talking about rolling off the rest of the season here. They get a Buccaneers team that you want to talk about a team fighting to keep, probably for their head coach to keep his job right now at this point. Giants at home laying 1.5.
Yeah, give me the Giants. I think Tampa Bay is just flailing. Like you said, Dirk Cutter's definitely on the hot seat. They have no identity at quarterback. Their run game has really struggled to find their groove there. The defense is among the worst in football. So the Giants, credit to them for turning things around a little bit. I think they carry that momentum a tad and they get the victory.
I'm with the Fighting Eli's as well, too. Lay the 1.5 at home. Denver at the Chargers. The Steelers got both these teams the next 2 weeks, right? I mean, it goes Denver and then the Chargers for the Steelers here. Yep. So we might learn a little bit about this game. I know you and I will definitely be watching it at some point in this next coming week here. Chargers at home, laying 7.5.
Ooh, I think the Chargers win, but I think Denver covers. I think 7.5 is just a little too rich for me.
I think Phillip blows them out on this one. I'll lay the 7.5 on this one. A snoozer. Oakland at Arizona. Arizona laying 6 at home. What do you think about the Fighting Leftwiches?
What's the over/under on that game? Like 4? I mean, that's gotta be terrible.
41.
41.
I like it. You're picking up the lingo a little bit there. I like it.
Yeah, I'm faking it till I make it. It's kind of the approach I've had. I don't know. Give me Arizona on this one just because Oakland. I mean, they're openly tanking, and while Arizona's obviously terrible, they're not as just brazenly tanking as Oakland is.
All right, Arizona. I watched that. Believe it or not, I watched most of that Arizona Kansas City game. I like the way they played in that game.
That defense is good. Arizona's defense is.
Yeah, look, Patrick Peterson over there. I do. I like the way they play. I think their defense is going to be the biggest difference maker in this. So I will take Arizona, and I'll lay those 6 points at home. Monday night, this thing has gone from Mexico back to where? Where are they playing this one?
L.A.
Yeah, in L.A. What was I never read. How did that stadium get chewed up and all?
There was apparently a Shakira concert and a soccer game. I think the weekend before.
That's probably not a great idea.
I don't know what the scheduling plan was there, but and obviously LA with the fires, that's got its own issue. But what's the line on this one?
Rams. I mean, this is gonna be. You want to talk about must see TV? Rams -3.
Rams -3. Yeah, give me the Rams on this one. It's going to be a great game. I like Sean McVay more than I like Andy Reid, so I'm going to go with the Rams.
The Rams lost Cooper Kupp too. You hate to see that. Can they get to Mahomes? I think if the Rams win this, I think their defense has to be the difference. That said, that kid said Tyreek Hill, man. That you want to talk about a guy we're tuning in to watch every week? It's him. Mm-hmm. Give me the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs can win this outright, so give me the Chiefs +3. That, of course, brings us to the Steelers at Jacksonville. Give me a quick breakdown on this, which way you think this goes, and give me a final score prediction as well, too. The line is now up to the Steelers' favorite on the road by 6.5.
Yeah, I think it has the potential to be close because these games obviously have been, and we've always in the past thought, Steelers will win big because X, Y, and Z. But again, when you have a physical team like Jacksonville, when you have an identity and probably no shortage of confidence based on what Jacksonville's done in the past, I think it will be close. I'm picking the Steelers to win on this one just because, on paper it should happen. Situational football is so much better. The defense has improved. The tackling is so much better. That was a huge issue against Jacksonville last year, which you just couldn't get guys on the ground. You couldn't tackle well enough. So I think they missed 2 tackles against Carolina, which is an all-time low from what we've charted. So Steelers win 24-20, I'll say.
So you want the Jaguars plus the points then, huh?
I guess so.
All right. You and I have talked now for a little while about there's no way no way that the Steelers should lose this game. Of course, we said that, or I said it at least twice last year. If they don't turn the football over, I just don't. If they don't look, I think you could even turn the football over once, or maybe even twice, as long as it's not a pick six or a fumble six.
Right.
Just none of those. Don't turn it over and you're in, and obviously don't give up the easy score on those. You got to make the Jaguars offense do their job in this game and do it consistently. I think the Blake Bortles that we saw back in Week 5, that's Blake Bortles. You want to get him in those same situations. If you shut down that running game with Leonard Fournette, don't let them do the things that they want to do offensively. Once again, it goes back to kind of like the Carolina game. If the Steelers offense can come out and put, a touchdown and a field goal on the board real quick here and get Jacksonville out of what they like to do, this game is over, in my opinion. I think the Jaguars make it a little closer at the end with one of those, cheap Cleveland type touchdowns that we saw earlier in the season. So I'm going to go, with that said, I think the Steelers cover this. I have the Steelers 27-17 on this over the Jaguars. So I'll take the Steelers and I'll lay the 6.5 points on this. All right. We got through that. Any other kind of final news or notes or things that we left off the back end or front end?
Nope. I think that's everything for me.
All right. You and I will be back at it. What's the what are we talking about Monday if it is a Steelers loss? It's got to be turnovers, right?
Yeah, you love the narratives more than I do, but turnovers, good penalties return, and just not being the more physical team. If a loss happens, that's probably how it happens.
All right, maybe we'll talk next week about guys deserving on the Steelers. I wanted to maybe hit on that today, guys deserving a Pro Bowl, but maybe we'll hit on that Monday or whatnot. But in the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. You can follow Alex Kozora on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Want to reach out to us here? You can do so by sending us an email, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. We invite you to go by Steelers Depot all throughout the weekend. Alex and the guys just have their scouting post on the Jaguars on offense and defense up as of today. We'll have some other things up throughout the weekend as well. And as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast.